Hey, thank you for coming.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
I like that room 199 is the one that's just under the second floor.
Yeah.
It should be like room 199.99 repeated.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's almost second floor.
And then I can spark appears to be.
Oh, Pitrone, I forgot to buy stuff for Pitrone.
I can't make it now.
Don't worry, it's my fault. I consider it too many details altogether. I want to do that. Don't worry, I'm not saying that for the sake of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too late. Don't worry, please don't worry. It's like I see your face, I suddenly realize.
Yeah. Oh my God, pastries!
Because you're right. You're always the one who's trying to laugh, so it's like, no.
Yep.
I hope they forgive me for that.
Yeah, I think it should be okay. Is there anything I can do to help get set up?
I might teach you how to use this camera. Most likely you don't need to use it at all, but just in case, just in case something got messed up.
In case something what?
Something is wrong. So I switched. So this Generally, here is the mode. I will turn it to like the movie mode, which is that sign, and the power, obviously.
Okay.
And you can see, and this button is like start recording and stop recording.
Which one? Oh, so the
yeah.
Okay.
And here's like this finder here, this LCD here, and after I start recording it, I'll switch to the finder, I'm recording already. I'll switch to the finder, so it saves battery.
Yeah.
But if you want to see what's going on, then you can switch back without interrupting the recording at all.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'll start recording using it, but just in case someone like hits his hand, falls on the ground thing.
Yeah. I guess you already set the zoom where you want, but in case it gets messed up.
Yeah.
Is zoom? Oh, it's here. I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you don't see anything, probably that's because I'm using a finder. It just pushes this button and goes back to LCD.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Yeah. This is a pretty good view. Will there be any people sitting up here?
Maybe, I don't know. Like. Okay. It's up to them.
Yeah. I just want to make sure it doesn't get like blocked or something. Whoa! Oh no!
Not sure.
Yeah. Well, the cushion just comes off for some reason. I mean, certainly if someone. Okay.
That means if I haven't said, I need to move this camera to the front.
Yeah. Worst case, we can probably take that little rolly table and put it somewhere just set it.
Oh yeah, that's right. I think that'd be a better idea actually. So,
is this your water?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want it in the middle or the?
It's less obnoxious up here.
Yeah. I feel like all I can see is that if it's over there, then someone can still block it. Worst case, you can always put it in the middle. It's not a big deal.
Steam adjustable, no, that's the highest you can get. Let me try the front row here. Okay. It's too close to the front. It's possible.
Do you need anything else to like set it on? I have some notebooks and stuff you can.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
I don't know how you want
resources.
I don't know how you want to configure it.
That should have my face in it. Yeah, for most of the time, I guess.
That what?
That should have like captured the whole slide and your face.
Okay.
For most of the time. Good enough. I should try this.
Yeah. Cool.
See, that's so bad. Okay. Move this chair. It's good enough.
Okay.
Okay, I'll save some battery before it starts. Okay.
Cool. That's it. Is there anything you wanna? No, I guess you have it. You have water. You have some tea.
Yeah. I'm good. It's broadcasting live right now.
Broadcasting what?
Yes, broadcasting on YouTube.
Oh,
so
cool.
using Google is called Hien-haw on the air.
Yeah.
So
for your
the whole conversation we just had was public.
Is your girlfriend gonna join it? Oh yeah. Cool. Make the joke.
I just read. Yeah. Yeah, she's in New York. She's gonna watch on YouTube.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yes. Man, which year are you in right now?
Huh?
Which year are you in right now?
I am in the second semester of my third year.
Okay, halfway there.
Wait, what?
Halfway there.
Yeah. Well, so yeah. I told Michael a few weeks ago that I wanted.
This conversation is public.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's a secret. Like I told Michael a few weeks ago that I wanted to leave the masters. So at the end of the semester, if everything goes right, then I would leave the masters. But that depends on how research goes to do a master's thesis. Yeah. But that's whatever, right? This is not.
Man, this is the real thing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think it's gonna be great, man. I feel like I've seen maybe 2 defenses before this. I think you're gonna be just fine.
Which is the? Do you want to Brian Hines? No. That's
No, I was.
you didn't match. You didn't meet other Brian. No.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I don't remember 2 Brians at the same time.
Yeah, I've been to like one machine learning person's defense and one computer vision's defense, and I like.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Glad I was able to find it.
Do we have to go wake up your committee? Because it's kind of early for one of them, right?
Yeah, let me just check.
I'm convinced the naming of this room is like kind of a joke because it's
Halfway in between, yeah. It should be 159.
Well, I feel like they should have named it 199, that 99 repeating, because it's as close as possible to the second floor as you can get here.
Without being, yeah.
Yeah, except.
Oh, the math department. Math room jokes.
No, it's 199, but I know where the offices are. So, yeah, I'm gonna find that meeting to see if it's real. Okay, let's leave.
I guess so. Let's just. In case something goes wrong with the camera, I don't want to go in the middle with it.
So they just happen to be doing this program.
Sweet, my.
So I got
Ready?
Yeah.
So got time to change your slides if you want. I'm just kidding. Get out of the game. Hi. So sorry, Michael. you. Do you know how long you'll talk?
30 minutes.
30 minutes? Okay, that's good.
While we wait, you can just go like find goofy animations to put in. You're just like find videos of cool biology stuff. And when you're just like giving an overview of like stuff, you can be like, look at this cool bio thing. This is totally a protein binding to DNA right now.
Okay, this recording. I'm also broadcasting on Google Hangout.
Okay.
So,
Oh no, I'm Brian. I'm his lab mate.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're expecting Brock.
Barack and 2 other math professors.
Okay. And I guess the 10-minute rule probably applies, so.
It applies here.
Yes.
So it's not a
What was your name?
Renato.
Whatever you guys want.
Still
Sure,
waiting
that'd be great.
Still waiting for future.
Yes. He'll just be following the 10-minute rule.
Okay. Still asking just for the class.
When I first came to Washington, I knew nothing about this, starting after the hour. It was, at that time, 7 minutes. And I'd start on the hour, and this girl would come in 7 minutes past and take a seat and just flower at me. Nobody told me.
Used to be 7 minutes ago.
Yes. But when they started putting classrooms all the way at that northwest corner, they call it the village, it was just impossible for students to get from there over to here. So they changed it to 10 minutes.
Yes, because textbooks will like we come here and like on the clock and nobody's here and get intimidated.
Now, when you first came to us, were you going to work under Professor Sawyer?
Yeah.
Okay. So I always remember his job talk, which he gave here. He had an Apple II. Ran simulations. Okay. Let's see, this is Michael Brown.
Hello, Victor Wickerhauser.
Barack Cohen. I guess we'll still follow the 10-minute rule, ready here. because there maybe more students coming in. There was one graduate student, a female, who was very, very popular, and the entire room was filled, all people, including her relatives.
Who was the?
Do you remember her name?
Olympian Jasmine.
No.
Something like this.
It's been quite a long time. Okay, well, let's cheat on this. I don't know. A couple minutes. It's my pleasure to introduce Hien-haw to Liow. Since he's been doing work in another department along with us, his advisor is Michael Gervais, type of him back from the department. Michael?
So, it's a pleasure to be back here in the math department. It's been a few years since Yen's basic proposal meeting. And it's been a process for me, since Yen is my first math student, to learn how mentorship and the student-professor relationship works in math, and to kind of create a blend of the two styles between the one that I'm used to and the more common style here. So that's been an interesting learning experience. And so Hien showed up in my class, Algorithms for Computational Biology, about 4.5 years ago. And he was clearly a very bright fellow, very engaged and interested and fun to have in class. And then he started coming back, and he started coming to my group meetings, and I was interested in him, but not quite exactly sure what to do with him, and so kind of orbited for a while, and then I asked him to officially join the group, and so that was sort of one step forward, and then we developed a working style together that took some time, but worked out really well. And Hien has been a great member of the group, and he's also going to tell you today about basically two accomplishments that he has. In the opposite order that I'm telling you. One is to make significant progress on the problem of mapping transcriptional regulatory networks, figuring out which transcription factors regulate each gene in a genome. And that's a problem that my group had been working on, and Yen's made significant contribution and moved us forward on that. The other is a problem that I think no one in the world has been brave enough to undertake before Hien, and that is trying to predict in a general way what will happen to the transcriptional profile of a cell when you simultaneously make two perturbations to the circuitry that controls gene expression. There have been one or two special cases that people have tried to develop, but in terms of a quantitatively evaluated system for doing this, Hien's is the first, and I'm quite excited about it. So, please tell.
Thank you, Michael, for the introduction, and thank you all very much for coming here today. And my dissertation, as you can see, is on the application of various machine learning methods in mapping and simulating gene regulatory networks. Any gene regulatory network can be understood as a directed graph with the nodes being the genes and edges being gene regulation relations. And each of these nodes can hold a numeric value that represents the expression level of that gene. A gene can encode a protein in certain cases, binds to the promoter region of another gene and affect the transcription rate of the other gene. And the result is that the gene expression levels is governed onto the dynamics and structure of the network. A gene that directly participates in the regulation of another gene, we call it a regulator. All the rest is non-regulators. And this differential equation system describes the ideal dynamics of generative network. And it's about the constitution of proteins and messenger RNAs of the genes. The changing rate of a protein level is determined by two parts. One is the translation rate, how fast it's translated from the corresponding mRNA. And the second term is the degradation rate, proportional to the current level of that protein. Changing rate of messenger RNA level is also determined by the two counterparts of these terms. First one is transcription rate and how fast it's transcribed from the corresponding DNA segment, and also this degradation rate. As you can see here, the term as the transcription rate is a function of the protein levels. Why? Because some of these proteins would bind to the promoted region of this gene and determine its expression level. So this function here is responsible for describing the flow of the regulation information from the level of one gene to another. Well, when there's little change in the environment to the cell is in, the system approaches a steady state. And ideally, if the protein level and mRNA level they don't change, this is a special case of this system, and it simplifies to this. We can redefine the function G that describes the expression relations only in terms of messenger RNA level, without explicitly mentioning the proteins. So actually, most of my work is based on steady state mRNA measurements. So I will identify the concept of mRNA level with the expression level of that gene. So these two goals in my dissertation. The first one, which is the kind of the bigger one, is to predict expression levels from artificial genetic perturbation. For example, if this is a simple network like this, and you artificially delete these two genes, and how would that result in expression level of other genes? The second goal of my dissertation is to recover network topology from using expression analysis. So given a certain target gene and a certain regulator gene, the question is, does the regulator gene directly binds to the target gene and regulates its expression level? And this question does not emphasize about the quantitative features of these regulations. The data I've been using for the first goal in my dissertation comes from the model species of Cryptococcus neoformans, and it has about 7,000 genes. This is training data, which includes the wild type expression levels, expression profiles, and the single gene deletion string expression profiles of Cryptococcus. And using this training data set, I reviewed both the perturbation information and the expression level of the training model. And then applied the trained model on the test data, that's the double gene deletion strings of Cryptococcus. And for test data, I only reviewed the perturbation information to the method and let it make predictions about expression levels. And then compare that with observed levels and judge the performance of the model. And this task I have divided into two stages. First one is to predict the level of regulator genes from genetic perturbation. Cryptococcus has 7,000 genes, and about 200 of them are regulators. But these 200 regulators form the part of the network that's the most complicated and dense information flow. So modeling this part is difficult, but at least if we narrow down the genes to model from 7,000 to these 200, we can focus on it, and numerically it's more tractable. After phase one, if we have already predicted the expression level of regulator genes, then we want to predict non-regulator gene levels from regulator levels. And this part of the problem is more like a regression problem, because you have your regulator levels as explanatory variables and the non-regulator levels as response variables. However, back to the phase one, that was not a very typical regression problem for several reasons. The first is that the input information is very sparse. For example, if you have in single deletion and double deletion strings, you have only 1 or 2 genes perturbed. And from the level of those 1 or 2 perturbed genes, you want to predict levels of all 224 regulator levels. And the information content in your explanatory and in your response, they just very asymmetric, and that renders regression analysis not very effective for this task. And also, although regulation itself implies some kind of causal relation, so I believe there's causal relation between expression levels of regulated genes. But regulators do regulate each other, and this causal relationship goes back and forth, and it's hard to use regression analysis between expression levels to find out the direction of these causal relationships. And especially in case that, especially given the possibility that there might be feedback loops in a gene regulated network. But still, we're interested in order to model the regulation network, we have to find out this causal relation. Not with regression analysis, but some other method. So how should we do that? And from a Bayesian point of view, to answer this question, we answer in a reverse way. So maybe if we did have a function f here that describes the determination relation between regulators as regulators and regulators as targets, and how do we use this function to predict expression levels from perturbation information? And this is the framework I designed for this task. So if we do have this function f, and we want to predict expression level of the of this double deletion string of gene A and gene B, and for the sake of notation, I will use the number 1 to represent the expression level of any gene in the wild type sample. So what wild type means we don't have any artificially perturbed gene in our string. So first row vector here represents the wild type expression profile, and each cell is represented gene. And we located two entries that represent the deleted genes, and we set them to 0. And we feed this expression vector to the function f as the cause of change. And the function f will calculate the expression vector that explains the result of change in expression levels. For example, these 3 red genes here, and if they're direct targets of the 2 deleted genes, and their level probably would change in response to the deletion. And then you feed this new vector back into the function f. Then the function f will propagate the change of level in these 3 red genes further down to their targets. And recursively, it will simulate the propagation of the perturbation effect. And then after a few number of steps, you stop right there, and you take average of the final few steps, final few vectors, and use the average as to use as the prediction of the expression level in the double deletion string. But this is provided we do have function f that describes the regulation relation. So go back one step. How would it design this function here? In the literature, when people do this different task, when they do a task of the regression analysis of predicting non-regular levels from regular levels, it's very typical to use the log linear function. So here you have the x1 through x2, and so on as the regulatory levels. And you also have the b and c as the parameters. And also I keep parameters all in this matrix theta, so as a collective notation. So I want to borrow this model for my task too, but it's one problem with the log linear model. If you want to model one regulator J having a negative regulation effect, so that means you have to set the Cij to be some negative number. And that will imply that the function will evaluate to infinity when the level of that regulator goes to 0. Or even when it's very small, you have a large number that f evaluates to. And this would either cause like numerical instability, or at least in some cases the limitation of your model. Fortunately, it's a quick fix. You set a cutoff on the levels of x, the functional range of x. For example, if you set a cutoff at like 0.1, then whenever this regulator has level less than 0.1, you consider it's the same effect as 0.1. And actually, I set a lower cutoff as well as an upper cutoff on the function range of the regulators. Well, that of course will sacrifice the linearity of the log linear model, which for regression analysis would be problem, making it more difficult. But I'm not doing regression analysis anyway, so that is okay. Now that if I have defined the form of function f, and given a certain, and also defined how to use f to predict expression level from perturbation information, And now, given this and given a certain choice of parameter values, this model, how do I judge the goodness of fit of this model? And of course, the first criterion is always predictive power. Like anything else, you apply your model on your training data and calculate the predicted expression levels, and compare that with the observed expression levels, and you want to penalize the prediction error on your training data. But I also introduce a second criterion of goodness of fit. I call it network instability, and it's defined as the variance of the columns here across these row vectors. So you want these vectors to be as similar to each other as possible. And why? That is because if I use these final stages, these vectors to predict expression level, and if they're good prediction of the steady state, and F is the accurate description of the regulation, then you try to propagate the change of levels on your steady state one step further. You should not change the steady state much. That's the definition of steady state, right? So if that's a good prediction, you want the difference between these vectors to be small. So you want to penalize the difference between these vectors. You want to penalize prediction error. And to penalize prediction error, you have to you want to define a noise model, especially in the framework of Bayesian statistics. And it's always nice to work with normally distributed variables. There's many convenient features, very handy. The problem is that the gene expression level is one of the farthest things you can get from a normal distribution. And that's why people often works with log expression level. Because if you do a log transform on your expression levels, that gives you something fairly close to a normal distributed variable. But for our data, it's not, for tasking our data, it's not, the log is not good enough. Because we do have measurements of expression levels being 0 or very close to 0. And that's, if you fit that to log transform, it give you a negative infinity or like negative number of large magnitude. And that would cause numerical instability and also unfair penalty on prediction errors when your expression level is really low. So I want to design another transform, not log, but another transformation that can transform your expression level to something that's closer to normal distributed level. So I looked into literature and I analyzed the data I was working on, and I designed certain transformation of this parameter family, and that provides a higher normality than log transform. And if you set P and Q here, this P and Q, and I tuned it using the training data. But if P and Q are 0, this just simplifies log transformation. Now that I have the elements laid out, and I can formulate this model as the Bayesian problem. So we have the this function h that predicts the expression level using your choice of parameter and that form of the function f, the cutoff log linear function, and perturbation information. And with the prediction, and if you think of the prediction as the ideal expression level, giving you belief. And given the ideal expression level, the transformed expression level follows this normal distribution, whose variance parameter has the pi distribution of inverse gamma, which is very easily marginalizable. And the network instability is penalized in a certain pi distribution of the parameter theta that I have designed. And with this, you can calculate the likelihood of theta. And you can calculate also a normalized posterior density of theta, and which represents the goodness. It can be understood as the measure of goodness of fit. And from that, potentially, you can estimate the posterior distribution of theta. But that is computationally, that's very, very costly. And even just optimizing theta is very challenging. But eventually, I found out evolutionary algorithm was the very effective approach to optimize theta. And how it works is, first you start with a set of random guesses or naive guesses of the parameter value. And this we call it first generation. So each member here is one parameter matrix. And you can calculate goodness of fit of these parameter choices. And you sample you pick two of them according to their goodness of fit. So the fitter ones has the better chance of being chosen. And what do we choose these two candidates for? We recombine them, taking some entries from one and some entries from the other one, and the recombined parameter matrix, we add another sparse random matrix to it to mutate it. And resulted, the mutated matrix is called the child parameter. So we generate a number of child parameters and put them back into the original population. And we calculate the goodness fit of all these members here, and we throw out the least fit ones. So the size of population returns to its original size. And now we have a new generation, we call it second generation of parameters. And we do the exact same procedure to the second generation of parameters. And do this over and over, and this process, the parameter feature will be optimized. And that's how I do the phase one of this task. And now, if I have now we have the predicted levels of the regulators. And next step, I want to phase two is to extend this prediction to all the other genes. And this part is a regression problem. So I used these regression analysis methods. The first one is Bayesian additive regression trees, and it's an ensemble of decision trees. And one interesting feature about it is that it penalizes the complexity of each of these individual decision makers. So it has a well-distributed weight on the voting weight on the decision makers instead of relying on a very few number of complicated decision makers. So it's kind of like democracy in the worst case is better than aristocracy. I don't know. Yeah. And that provided like robustness against overfitting. The second method is lasso. It's BART is like semi-parametric. Lasso is parametric. Lasso is the actually linear regression model, and its unique feature is the constraint on the L1 norm of the coefficients. And this constraint is determined by using cross-validation of training data. And this constraint provided protective measure against overfitting. So I use both of these methods, and so I have two set of predictions. I average them to combine strength of both. And the performance of method on the genome-wide prediction on test data looks like this. So test data is the double deletion strength of Cryptococcus. Horizontal axis is the observed fold change with respect to wild type level. And the vertical axis is predicted fold change. As you can see, there's a trend. This trend of the the direction of the fold change being well predicted. And I actually counted a number of genes that has been observed to have fold change larger than 2, and are correctly or incorrectly predicted in terms of direction. And as you can see, the overall the direction of fold change is correctly predicted. And this actually leads to another feature of my method. It is able to predict differential expression from perturbation information. So genes that we differentially expressed in a certain mutant strain, if its level in that mutant strain is significantly different from its level in the wild type, and its significance is is judged by statistical methods, like could be something as simple as t-test, or more advanced methods that's tailored for expression data. And this task can be described as a binary classification problem. And the true label is whether a certain gene is actually differentially expressed or not in a certain test string. And classifier is the prediction made for, using my method, prediction made from the perturbation information. Double line is the name I give to the model I developed. And it's Bayesian method, so it does give you a posterior probability of the level of a gene being larger than or smaller than the wild type level. And you just set a threshold on this posterior probability, and that can give you a predictor of the. And to judge performance of method, I have to have something to compare it to. So I came up with this more naive method to predict DE. So if you want to predict the differential expression of a certain gene in a double deletion strain of gene A and B, You just look into your training data and find the single deletion strings of A and B, these two single deletion strings, and you take a geometric mean of the levels, and then you take log of that to see how different is that from wild type, and you set a threshold on that. Now, as you vary the threshold of these two prediction methods, you can plot your precision and recall curve. And so my method, double down, does much better than the naive geometric mean. For example, you can recover about 12% of the actual observed DE in the test data with the accuracy of 75%. And that was the first goal of my dissertation. The second goal is network recovery. So given a certain gene, target gene I, and a regulator gene J, is gene I directly bound by gene J and regulated by it? And if you consider the gene regulation relationship as the adjacency matrix, this matrix is very, very huge, but it's actually also very sparse. And we want to find out which entries of this sparse matrix is non-zero. And now this is also kind of like a binary classification problem. And your true labels is whether a gene is directly bound by and regulated by the regulator. And this true label can be constructed from experiments that directly measures DNA protein binding. And what I want to do is want to have a predictor classifier that's entirely linked from expression data without relying on protein DNA binding experiments. A classifier linked from expression data that gives you a score. It's a classifier with variable threshold about the likelihood each certain target is regulated by another gene. And this problem actually has been addressed in the literature. The first method is actually can use differential expression analysis for this task. So if you delete a gene A, and that induces a significant change in the level of gene B, and you simply infer gene B as the direct target of gene A. And obviously there's a problem with that because DE differential expression doesn't tell you explicitly whether this effect is due to direct regulation. Could be indirect, which is inferred to be direct, and that could be incorrect sometimes. And the second family of methods is based on linear regression. For example, you can run Lasso. This linear regression methods with L1 constraint on L1 norm. You construct a Lasso model to explain target levels from regulator levels, and then you take the coefficients as a measure of the likelihood of regulation. And in our lab, a previous PhD student, Brian Haynes, has developed a method called net profit. And it combines the result of DE and Lasso in a certain manner. And the resulting network recovery was more accurate than both DE and Lasso. The new method I propose here is based on the idea that because we want to identify those direct regulation effects. And if we can isolate the effect of a certain regulator, so if we can change the level of one certain regulator without changing others, without changing other regulator levels, we would only induce change in its direct targets without touching its indirect targets, right? For example, in this column here, we have one and only one regulator level change. And everything else, every other regulator stays at their wild type levels. And well, one way is probably carry out this experiment, changing one regulator level without touching others. But without demanding this kind of experiments, which I suspect could be very difficult, is to if we have a confident method that predicts target levels from regulator levels, we can simulate this experiment, right? Recall that for my first goal, the second phase of first goal was to predict target levels, target levels from regulator levels. So I borrowed method from that part of my dissertation here to this task, and I used that method to predict target levels from these constructed query profiles of regulators. So I have these predictions of your, you have one prediction of your target, each target gene for each column here. And now you take the predicted log fold change of the target induced by the isolated effect of certain regulator, and use that as the regulation score for that edge. And you can set threshold on your regulation score, and then calculate the precision recall and things like that. But I actually use different data sets on that, and I tried on different data sets and use different validation methods, and they all tell me the same thing, that this new method does better than the and lasso. For example, this one is on East, and it's using a latest comprehensive data set, expression array data set. And horizontal axis here is the various threshold of your score, the average number of predicted targets per regulator. And vertical axis is the fraction of the recovered edges being supported by direct DNA protein binding experiments. And the previous method, so this net profit also developed in this lab. It combines the result of D and lasso, and the combination provided strength. So it inspired me to just to ask, why don't I just combine net profit and my new method and see if the combination provides even a boost in the performance. So indeed it worked, and the result is the construction network is better than the current net profit, and also I think net profit is current best functional construction from expression data. So in conclusion, I've developed the first general method that predicts genome-wide expression levels solely from perturbation information, and the training only requires expression data of wild type and single deletion strings, and it does not require prior knowledge like sequence analysis or protein-protein interaction. And also, I've developed a new method for infer network structure from expression data, and apply that on East, and I provided a network reconstruction that's better than current best results in literature. Thank you.
For the next phase, we invite all of our guests to ask questions if you wish. Don't be shy. Okay. Well, that phase won't let me know. The next phase consists of the faculty committee members meeting with the candidate. And we don't exactly know how long that will take. But if you can wait around, we do have the toast with champagne. We'll gather together in room 200. So room 200 goes on your left as you come out of this room here. And I don't know if it's going to be open or not. If it is locked, we will check there. It is not. So at this point, we invite the guests to wander around.